Rob Gantt with the Goose Creek Gazette and the Berkeley Independent. I'm here at Coastal Coffee Roasters today in Somerville with Somerville Journal Scene sports writer Roger Lee. Roger, how you doing?
Doing good, man. How about you?
It's getting close to Halloween, and how you like my outfit?
I was trying to figure it out, man. What you got going?
It's cutting edge. I'm going as a sports writer who likes to wear Hawaiian shirts. It's that simple, guys. Anyway, we're talking a little football, actually. We're moving into Week 10, getting down to the championship rounds, the nitty-gritty, whatever cliche you want to come up with. Cutting time. Tell us what's going on your side of the or I guess your side of the woods, Dorchester County. What's going on over there?
Well, Rob, I think most people in the Somerville area will agree that we got one of the biggest games of the year. Fort Dorchester is hosting Somerville. It's been a big rivalry ever since that Fort Dorchester opened years ago. The last few years, Fort's been real strong in that game, and so it's really amped it up. I'm looking forward to seeing how they do Friday night. Of course, Fort Dorchester's got that offense. It's just piling up the points on everybody. Multiple weapons, doing great. Nobody can seem to figure out how to stop the Fort. Somerville, though, is still in contention for the region championship. If they could win the next two games, then they could steal the championship. Their defense might be a tough matchup for Fort. It's been real strong. They haven't allowed a point in the last 2 weeks, outscoring their opponent 40-something points to nothing. Some real playmakers on that side of the ball for Somerville. And, Somerville's going to need their best game. But their offense, if they can just put it all together, there haven't been many games this season where their offense was just clicking on all cylinders. They've won plenty of games, lost some tight games, but if they can have everything go their way, maybe have a turnover or two, that could be a pretty interesting game. Also, in our area, we've got Ashley Ridge going to James Island. That's going to be a good matchup. Both those teams need a win to stay in the mix for the region championship. Ashley Ridge only has one win in the region, so they have to win the next two if they want to make the playoffs. They've been struggling with injuries, but have looked really polished up at times, and then at other times they just can't seem to stop anybody. Ashley Ridge, that is. And James Island has had some problems this year. They've had to play some games without some players. When they played Somerville, they were down a lot. So that should be a good matchup as well. Then the final game we have is another big rivalry in the Skeezer ranks. We've got Pinewood Prep is hosting Porter-Gaud. Yeah. Those two love to go at it. Pinewood has been doing well this year. They lost a big game to Hammond last week, the defending state champion in Skeezer 3A. And so they're looking to bounce back from that and get some momentum rolling into the Skeezer playoffs. Porter-Gaud always has a potent offense, a lot of pride in that program over there. So it's going to be, and they also always bring a big crowd to those games. So, if you go into the Pinewood game or the Fort Somerville game, probably want to show up early. It's probably going to be a good crowd. That's about all I have on my side. What do you got going on over in Berkeley?
Well, what I'll say to kind of continue on what you're saying is that the Fort Somerville game, the Pinewood Porter-Gaud game, the student sections will be, in Ashley Ridge, James Island, the student sections will be tremendous for all of those games. If you've ever seen those student sections in action, they'll definitely bring the energy to the stadium. Speaking of energy in Berkeley County this week, I'm as excited about this slate of games as I have been in a while, just because there's a lot on the line, some rivalries, that sort of stuff. The big one to me is Cane Bay 8-0 traveling to Moncks Corner. The Stags are 5-2. I mentioned earlier about student sections and bands and cheerleaders and crowd support. That will have as many people there as they can hold in that stadium, and it'll be an excellent football game. I guess when you look at that matchup, it's really kind of about it's a style matchup. Like, how much has Berkeley improved stopping the run? Last year, Cane Bay ran all over them. Also, you got to keep in mind that Berkeley does have a Shrine Bowl quarterback. He can throw the ball. He's a dual threat. He can run. And Cane Bay has struggled, everybody struggles with that type of quarterback, but Cane Bay has struggled against the pass in the past. And so this will be a huge test for both teams. And I mean, like I said, it'll come down to, has Berkeley improved on defense? Can Cane Bay stop the pass? And the other thing, the X factor, is always turnovers, penalties, injuries, that sort of stuff. Another matchup that I'm excited about, even though the records aren't stellar for either team, Stratford 0-8, loads of buses up. They're going to go over to Red Bank Road, take on the Goose Creek Gators, who are 2-6. It's always a great game. It's two evenly matched teams this year, I think. And both teams do have a shot at the playoffs. For Goose Creek, it's simple. Win this week, and you will be in the big dance after the season. Stratford needs to win this week and next week against Ashley Ridge, I believe.
That's right.
And then they have a chance to be in the playoffs. So, the records aren't good, but pride is at stake. City bragging rights is at stake. Let me tell you how I see that one unfolding. Goose Creek got a big break last week when Leandre Legree, the fullback, came back. They call him Cornbread. He's a big old boy, and he just adds a new dimension to their offense as far as being able to soften up other teams' defensive fronts. For Stratford, the Knights have really improved the last couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago, they were competitive against West Ashley. It was 14-14 going into the fourth quarter. It didn't work out for them, but they were in the game. And then last week against Somerville, they only lost 15-0, and you saw that game. They were in the game. So Stratford has really improved the last couple of weeks, especially on defense. The key there for them is, can they get something going on offense? They just haven't been able to generate any big numbers on offense, especially rushing. I think the leading rusher is somewhere under 200 yards for the year, and we're 8 games into the season, so it's just not come together for them. But, if you saw the Penn State-Ohio State game on Saturday, that's why they played a game. So we'll see what happens.
That Stratford defense was tough against the Wave last week, I'll tell you.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what Kander told me. Coach Kander from Goose Creek, he said that Stratford looked pretty good on defense. And, if you play good on defense, you got a chance to win any game. 2 more games. Timberland, 4-3, is going to travel over to Daniel Island, take on Bishop England at 7-1. That's a matchup that could decide the region championship. Timberland it seems like they're in the hunt for one every year. I think they've won like 9 of the last 10 region championships for whatever region they've been in. They're coming off a 38-0 win over Franklin Christian. Their offensive line was amazing, blasting holes in the Franklin Christian defense. We'll try to give those guys a shout-out. It's going to test my memory. Sam Driggers, Nick Smith, Malik Rivers, Kevin Wilson, Jaquan Washington, and the tight end, Matthew Rimber. I can't believe I remembered all those names, but I did. Good job by the Timberland offensive line on Friday night. Bishop England has a player I do want to mention. He's actually a sensational high school football player. He's Leo Albano. He's a quarterback. He's a dual threat. He's piles up the yards rushing and passing. I know last week in their loss, they actually did lose to Manning. But he did have a great game. I think he was well over 100-something yards passing, well over 100-something yards rushing. So he's definitely a guy to watch out for Bishop England. One more note on Timberland. Joseph Moultrie leads the team in rushing, almost 500 yards. He scored 6 touchdowns. He also leads the team in tackles. So, I think he's a guy that should have gotten some North-South consideration, made the North-South All-Star team. He wasn't on the roster. We'll see how that works out. He could actually be added. I mean, not just him, but players could be added at a later date because of Hurricane Matthew impacting the area. Some teams could actually be playing regular season or playoff games when the North-South game is going on. Keep your eye on that one. One more game, St. John's Christian, 5-3, is going to go to Holly Hill, which is 8-1. St. John's Christian, no matter what happens in this game Friday, they've had a great season compared to last year. They didn't win a game this year. They've won 5 games. I saw the stat line from Mikey Smith last week against St. John's Christian. I think he had 100-something yards passing, 100-something yards rushing. Oh, he picked off 3 passes. Might have scored like 5 or 6 times. Who knows? He's having a great season for St. John's Christian, and a lot of other guys are too. Holly Hill will be a tough test. When you kind of compare the scores, you can see that Holly Hill has had a little bit higher margin of victory over some of the teams that the 2 teams have in common. So that'll be a tough test, but that's why you play the game, because anything can happen. Hand is off, cross is off this week, and that should just about do it. I do want to add though, like I said earlier, the north-south picks were released from. I don't know about your side. I know in Berkeley County, cross receiver Devin Stinson made the north-south game. So did Goose Creek linebacker Morgan Nelson, and one more guy made it. Berkeley receiver Davion Moore. Be on the lookout for that information in our papers. Congratulations to all those guys. It's always a big deal to be named to those all-star teams.